Good afternoon, LinkedIn community. We're going live today with Victor George Brands. Victor, welcome to Drink Up Live.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to actually have you. We got the opportunity to meet each other at WSWA last week. Sounds like you had a really fruitful show. I'm interested maybe having you share that with the community. But before we get going, we always have a couple sponsors that we like to call out. We always call our friends out at Freebird. Jay Williams, a big fan of the show, and we're a big fan of Freebird. My partner in crime, he couldn't be here today, so he sends his apologies. But Adam Smith with Alias Advising, he actually helps people from the operations side. So if you think about what goes in that can or that bottle, Adam probably can help you do that from the SOPs all the way to cans, bottles, lids, distill it, formulators. He does all that. And then obviously, thank you, Alicia Vargo, of you're out there with Bev Assets for helping us support Drink Up, and then finally Rocks Advising with Ryan Hellman. Thank you, everybody. It's always good for you guys to support us being here every week. We have a special podcast today because we normally don't run during the week, but we do happy hours for special guests. And Victor, thank you so much. I had the opportunity to actually try some of your products at WSWA and met an old friend, Stacy. So tell me, why the heck would you get in this business, number one? And two, maybe tell a little bit about your company and your brands.
Yeah, I mean, thanks again for having me on here. What got me into business is that come from a sports and entertainment background and a real estate background, and so I started investing early in real estate in Miami, and I was able to acquire some hotels in Miami Beach and things like that in the early 2000s. And when the whole recession came, in Miami, we don't.
Why the heck would you get in this business, number one?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That was me.
So in Miami, like we don't experience recessions or things like that, like other parts of the country might sometimes. And so I was involved in a nightclub at the time, and I saw like how people were still coming in and spending ridiculous amounts of money on liquor and things like that. And I said, wow, we're supposed to be in a recession. Real estate market tanked, and our primary customer at that time was a lot of celebrities, a lot of professional athletes,
So I got
and
to
things
ask,
like
is this when you shifted to become a rap singer, by the way? Because I'm curious.
it's actually after that, but I maintained all those relationships and developed some new relationships through that. And I said, you know what? There's no one that I knew of that had their own alcohol, liquor company, liquor brand that looked like me. And I was like, you know what? So I'm starting my own liquor company. No idea how to do it, where to go, anything like that. And so, long story short, I met some people out of South Carolina, and they were getting into the distilling business. And so I went over, I met with them, and vodka was the hot thing back then. So I figured that's what we'll start with. And
This is
they
when you
gave me
did the
their
10,000 cases you told me about, right?
yeah, 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 and it was I mean, it went from the first sample being the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life till sample number 132 a week later that we went through. I'm highly intoxicated, but I said, "This is it." And so we came out with B Giorgio, which was the first line, and we had a couple flavors that went with it. We had which was a hot product back then. And, so we released those and, yeah, we did about 10,000 cases in our first year, and that's just in Florida.
Was that just you? Was that just you doing the 10,000 cases too? Or
Well, no, like, I mean, Southern became our distributor, and,
okay.
we had some boots on the ground, but it was just I think it was timing that really set it off, right? Because again, nobody was doing it. And so, when you're friends with your celebrities and pro athletes and, they're consuming it, then people started drinking what they're drinking. And we made it a Miami thing. So you came from, you know, anywhere else, Vegas, New York, Minnesota, it didn't matter. You came to Miami, you were drinking V Giorgio, and it just blew up for us.
Now your path to this, you were a professional athlete as well?
Yeah, I did 1 year in that. I played at Bowling Green, and then I did 1 year over there with
Wait a minute. Bowling Green, Kentucky or Bowling Green, Ohio?
Bowling Green, Ohio. There's only one Bowling
Oh
Green.
my God, man, dude. Okay. I'm a BGSU grad.
No way.
Yes. What years were you at Bowling Green?
I was there from '85 to '89.
I was there, I graduated in '87. I now I know who you are.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god,
that
we probably hung out.
bro, Uptown, Downtown.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh
You
my
remember
gosh.
that? Uptown,
Oh,
Downtown.
Victor. Oh my. I thought, it's funny. Martin Bayless was there at the same
That's my
time.
boy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
man. I used to play basketball with him. I mean, he would school everybody. You're
yeah,
probably out
yeah, yeah.
there playing with us too, but
You knew Jerry Bayless, his brother?
yeah, yeah. And, Doug McClure, he kind of fanned out, unfortunately. I mean, he was a great ball player back in the day, but man, you went to BGSU. You
Yeah,
probably
that's
came to
funny.
some of my parties. We lived on 320 North Enterprise. I guarantee you came to our.
All right, if then I don't know that. Yeah, I stayed. So, the first year there, I stayed in Anderson, was the dorm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then we all, we moved off campus and we moved to 8th Street.
Okay.
So, yeah, they called that the ghetto of Bowling Green, right? So it was
My goodness,
it
man. This
because it was all
people.
athletes. We were all out there just hanging out. It was cool, man. But Bowling Green was a good time,
That is so like that just makes the whole podcast so much more special. We could talk about like I lived in Compton my freshman year, and then I
right?
joined a fraternity. Then I was in that, in the house for a year, and then we moved off campus the last couple years I was there. But that's the coldest place on planet Earth, man.
Yeah, yeah. We have, no mountains, it's flat. We just had that one big hill that we had to, run at 6 a.m. every morning, but it was cool.
That's funny. Well, BGSU. So I knew there was a reason we're talking. I'm sorry I digress. So from
No, it's all good.
BGSU, you went into a year of professional football.
Yeah, and then, it doesn't always work out the way you think it does, and so then I got into the music business, which was something that, was a hobby of mine as a kid, and
Right.
so I graduated from Bowling Green, and I moved back to Columbus, where I'm from, and you know said I'm gonna be a businessman, and that was cool, but it
Yeah.
wasn't what I wanted to do, and
Yeah.
so my sister was living in LA at the time. And she was married to Michael Winslow, the guy that makes all the noises in Police Academy.
Yeah.
And so she told me, she was like, if you ever want to be famous, you got to get the hell out of Ohio, right? And so I moved to LA, said I'll try it out. And
We all moved to
Michael,
LA back then, though. When I got out of Bowling Green, I
right.
went to LA too.
Yeah, so I got Michael was doing a new movie and they were shooting in Miami. And my sister was like, "Well, you need to have my brother on the soundtrack. He's got great music, this, that, and the other." So the people that we were meeting with asked me, "Did you bring a demo tape?" Because that was a thing back then, demos, right? So I pulled out this demo and I only had 3 songs on it and playing it. I knew they thought it sucked, right? But I
That's
was,
how Jay-Z started out of his trunk, though. Didn't he like go demo tapes to people? I
I mean,
believe.
that's just how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
CDs weren't very prominent back then.
Yeah.
So, I knew that they, hated it, right? I almost hated it myself. But long story short, they said okay. And so we got to Miami and they said, we're going to sign him to our sister company. So I ended up signing to Vision Records in Miami. They took the demo and all those songs those 3 songs, they threw it in the trash. And they
Yeah.
said, we're going to start all over again. And that was my entry into the music business. My first record I did with them, it became very popular in Miami, pretty much only. And I learned the music business, but then my sister ended up passing away shortly after that, maybe a
I'm
year
sorry to
later.
hear that. Yeah.
And she was kinda like my manager, if you will. And so at that point, I'm like, "Okay, what do I do now?" Because unfortunately, I had lost my mom at the age of 10, and then my older sister passed away, and I'm like, I'm just trying to figure, like, life out. I'm, like, 25 years old. And, so I took some time and just, started doing my own thing. Nobody would hire me, 'cause I had no work experience. And I said, "You know
Wait a minute.
what?"
You're a Division I athlete. Went to a premier college. I mean, I think when you were at Bowling Green, they were in the top 20 a couple times.
Yeah, so I mean, our freshman year we went undefeated, but the funny thing is I played basketball at Bowling Green also, with Coach Widener. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was my coach. So I again, I'm living in Miami. This was right after Hurricane Andrew. And one of my friends that also went to Bowling Green with me, he's from Toledo. He came down, his company came down because he's in construction to help rebuild Miami. And so I stayed with him. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start a basketball sports agency and take guys overseas. Because it wasn't, I mean, it was there, it existed, but a lot of people weren't doing it. I had a lot of connections, even at Bowling Green. So I said, "You know what?" So I looked in the yellow pages, which was the way to do it back then, found the closest
What are
entertainment
those?
attorney. Yeah, and I caught a bus to his office. Boom, we talked, blah, 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 and the rest is history. We started All Star Sports Agents and went from that conversation to us becoming number 1 in the world at that time. So we had more guys placed than any other agency overseas, and,
Wow.
um, and
That's
then
a
we
pretty
started.
lucrative business, isn't it, for sports agents? I'm thinking like Jerry Maguire. That's what you're doing,
Well
right?
well, believe Jerry Maguire because there ain't no money in it, right? There is, at the highest level, but it's really babysitting, like a lot of guys, right? So our guys were overseas basketball players, right? And they want you to get up at, freaking 1 in the morning to go get their girlfriend a pizza. I'm like, "Bro, I'm not doing it." You know what I'm saying?
And these guys have money they've never had before, right? So you gotta
Yeah,
keep them out of trouble maybe?
yeah. So it was cool. It was a good time, and, I ended up having my partner buy me out, moved back to Ohio, and I said, "I'm starting my own record company," and that's what I did. And released a record called The Rise, The Fall, The Rise that just blew up. And I made a lot of money at the age of 26, and that's when I started investing in real estate. So that's pretty
So
much.
that afforded you this journey you were on, from Bowling Green, to a sports agent to music, that afforded you to get into real estate.
Correct.
And then the real estate afforded you to get into the beverage business.
That's correct.
That's a wild path. And why so I think, yeah, maybe you didn't answer it, but why did you wanna get into the beverage business?
Well, because like I said, like I was seeing how much people were drinking, and there was nobody, at least that I knew of or heard of, that looked like me, that was
Yeah,
black. And I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And
yeah.
that's what I did.
What kind of barriers did you face early on when you entered? I'm just curious for all the founders out there. You've been at this for how many years now?
20, this is the year.
That's a really important thing. So you weren't an instant success overnight.
No, not at all. It's like I didn't know much about it. I'd never been in the business. And, we didn't have distribution. And so, we just started doing our own thing, getting it out there, and people started talking about it. And, I had some friends at Southern, and, they said, "Hey, Vic, we need to have a conversation about your brands." And, I went and met with them, and same day it was done. Things are done a lot differently back then than they are now in terms of, especially small brands aligning with distributors, especially, big ones. And, but you got to do a lot of the footwork yourself, which is what we were able to do. We had a small team, but it was a very, very, very successful brand. And that's how we built it, like our own boots on the ground.
So to get Southern to pay attention to you, because I believe that was your first wholesaler. I think you said that earlier. How did you get them to
Yes.
pay attention?
So the way we did it was we had all the hottest accounts, and Southern had a very strong presence in Florida. So, when your rep or, your manager or whatever sees like, okay, what is this new brand? And, some key account that we have, and, they ask about it and they're like, man, this is hot, right? This is a hot brand. And then you start seeing like, different celebrities, different athletes drinking it and things like that. And, we're doing pool parties and we're just doing all these different things to promote the brand. It's like, okay, we got to talk to this guy and see what we can do. And it was a great thing. Like that was the right distributor at the right time. And it was a success.
So does that happen now? Because I've heard celebrity brands aren't the thing anymore. Is that true or not true in your opinion?
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's much more challenging. Because back then it seemed like any brand that any celebrity touched, endorsed, whatever they did became an instant success, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds, $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and so in today's world, I think that the consumer looks for, more authenticity.
Yeah.
They like to see that, celebrities are really engaged in the brand. They believe in it as part of their lifestyle. They're out there, they're pushing it, they're talking about it, they're engaging with it, they're engaging with the consumer and things like that. I think that those celebrity brands are the successful ones. I think that the days of, just putting your face on something, like the guy says, okay, well, let's see, take my own, like, oh, bourbon. Oh, yeah, Fort Mose bourbon. But then you go to the club and he's drinking tequila. right? So it's like, does he really even is that part of his life, right? So it's not. So why would they follow that, right? So
Yeah.
I
Well, I've
think that
heard like
that's
celebrities too, like, and I got a chance to sit across from a couple of them with a couple of our partners. But isn't the best celebrity brand the ones that invest and show up? You're kind of saying that, right? And they
what
engage with it and they're authentic.
well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and that's what people are looking for. It's like, how do you expect me to go out and, pay for a cocktail, which is an investment in your brand, so to
Yeah.
speak, and you haven't put a dime in on it. So do you really even believe in it? There's some celebrity brands that have launched and you read about it, and then come to find out that particular celebrity doesn't even drink. Right. So it's like, but you see, like, "Oh, I just had drinks with such and such at his house." And come on, man, nobody's going for that.
That is funny. So let's get into your brand a little bit. So Victor George brands. I think you have 3 brands, right? 2 vodkas
We got
and
2 vodkas, and then we have so we got the Victor George vodkas, which is a regular vodka and a caramel vodka, and then we have the Fort Mose brand, which has a bourbon and a rye whiskey.
okay.
So those are the 4 that we have right now.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the vodkas. I should have had you ship some over to me. I should have grabbed some from the show. So I had a chance to try the caramel.
Yeah, yeah.
So what makes that brand? Well, first of all, I know what makes it special because I had the chance to. Stacy was like putting it in front of me, and I was drinking. As a matter of fact, it's once you start, it's hard to stop on that. But what makes that so special?
Well, we started with the regular vodka, but my daughter, who actually works in the company, was just one day, she said, "Dad," she said, and she's been there for, since she graduated college, and she says, "We need to do a caramel vodka." And I said, "Why?" And she was like, "Well, nobody else is doing it. And the espresso martini is the number one cocktail in the world." So she did her research and she's one of those coffee
Yeah, can you
snobs.
show your espresso martini, or did you finish it already?
I finished it, man. Well, it was a little bit left. But yeah, so we had in 2002, I think it was, no, damn, 22, I bought Palm Beach Distillery, moved it to Fort Lauderdale, doubled the size of it, and said, we'll start creating our own stuff
So
here.
you are a distiller.
Yeah, we have that one. So we outgrew that one, and so we're in the process of building a new one, but still
Okay.
right here in Fort Lauderdale. But we came up with the caramel vodka right there in our own distillery. She was like, "Dad," being she's 20, what is she now? 27. And so she's giving me all the touch points, like, "You can't add sugar to it, let's make sure the caramel's all natural." And so I
Our
said,
daughters
"Okay."
are
And
wiser than this, aren't they?
yeah, so we came out with it, and, to be honest with you, I never thought it would be a hit like it is, and,
Yeah.
it's on fire right now, yeah, so I'm proud of her, and, so we're continuing to push it, but it's really the wow factor when they try it, I mean, the first thing most people say is, "Wow." So it's pretty
So where can you find it? It's in Florida right now, soon to be 5 other states?
well, right now, we're in about 17 states.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, but, we have some focus states that we really, pay attention to probably
Okay.
more than others. But, for people that, if it's not in your state or in your store, I mean, obviously you got online, buyvictorgeorge.com, and we have people buying it from I bet we've sold in all 50 states at this point.
Okay.
Um,
So you
at
have a
least
DTC route to market, in terms of how you, sell your products?
yeah, we do, and, we have a strategic growth plan. Just for example, just at, USWA, we picked up between 5 and 6 new states just being there. That's what we went for. That was our purpose for going,
Yeah.
and so we were really pleased with that, the outcome for all the brands. Like, we only had even in the taste test, the blind taste test, we submitted the caramel, the bourbon, and the rye. The rye won double gold, best in show. The bourbon got gold, and then the caramel vodka got silver, but there wasn't a lot of vodkas there, so I'm okay with that too.
Did that get some distributors to come talk to you after you won your double gold? Did that get them to say, "Hey, Victor, who are you?" Did they swing by, or how did that work?
Well, they did, and, we had a couple meetings prior to even getting there, and then, but it was interesting because, uh, Stacy and I actually met a gentleman on the elevator from another distributor, and, I said, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of that distributor." I said, "Man, you guys are doing big things, right?" And he's like, "Oh, I hope it's all good as you hear, don't believe the bad stuff," just joking. And he's like, "What do you guys do? You're with," and he just, saw our thing, Victor George Brands. He said, "What brands do you have?" And I said, "Fort Mose." And before I could even finish, he says, "Well, I read about Fort Mose." And he was like, "I'm coming, you're on my list of people to come talk to." And so I said, "Okay." So, it's getting out there. Like people are starting to know what it is and know who we are. And it's cool, man. It's to that growth. But we're very strategic in how we grow.
I mean, so you've worked really hard. I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. I want everybody to hear that. You just didn't wake up one morning and we talked to a lot of brands and we love them all, but a lot of them think they're going to scale it and sell it to 3 to 5 years. And I just don't think that's realistic. It could happen for sure. I mean, I don't want to run on anybody's parades, but it seems like everybody nowadays, they're like, yeah, we want to I'll put $500,000 in, which isn't enough, by the way, and I'm going to scale it and sell it in 3 to 5 years. The thing is, careful what you wish for, right? You obviously have the ability to have, the money to put the capacity to build out because you can get too large too fast, right?
Yeah, and you see that happen, you know, now I would say much more than before because, if I think like, 20 years ago, some of these brands would take off and, instantly people were just buying them thinking like, okay, this is never going to end. And, they're selling for, ridiculous amounts of money. And some of those brands aren't even around anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas today, I think, if you grow too big too fast, that your end buyer, if that's your goal, is not coming as fast as you thought they were, right? Because there's
Yeah.
other options and they wanna make sure you're sustainable, especially, excuse me, now when the overall industry is down a little bit and there's new innovations with, RTDs and mocktails and all these different things hitting the market that, I tell people, if you're getting this business just to think like, "This is my ultimate payday in 3 to 5 years," I would pretty much advise you not to do that, right? I'm just saying, man, it takes a lot more than what you think to build a successful brand.
Yeah, we were working with a brand in Kentucky, and they did pretty good last year. They got into like 170 accounts. I said, "What are your reorders?" They said 80. Not bad. And I asked kind of what their velocity was the whole bit. And now we're going to take them into Georgia. And then we said, "Hey, do you want to go to Florida?" But then he stepped back and he was kind of looking at like his operating costs, right? To produce it. And like, well, how many cases are you going to sell in Georgia? And we're like, we'll probably do, probably a pallet, a couple pallets, one pallet of each 100 cases in each pallet to begin with. And he's like, well, that's doable. I'll be ready by April. But no one thinks about the back end of the business, right? It's like, guys like me, I'm a commercial guy. I'm like, okay, let's go sell it in a whole bit. But he slowed down. He's like, okay, I got to do how much you think I'm going to sell to produce this product? Because you can go get distribution, but if you can't fill that order once you're in distribution, that's death,
Right.
to
Suicide.
product.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this. You've been in the business a long time. It's, you know, if you promise something to a distributor or even at the account level,
Yeah.
you better deliver. Because if you don't, that could be your only opportunity. Even in control states, if you go in there and you say, "Hey, can they say, hey, we can put you 100 stores or 300 stores. Can you handle it?" And you say, "Oh yeah, it's no problem." And then you hit, you know it becomes successful or people like it, and then here comes a big order, and you're like, "Oh, it's going to take us 4 months to get product." You are done, right? So you gotta be very careful, like, how you scale, and your forecasting is very important, and you gotta know when to say no. Somebody says, "Hey, I wanna take you in our state." A distributor says, "I really like your product. I'm gonna put you in our market." Sometimes we don't understand, like, you gotta support that market now, and if that wasn't part of your original plan, it may not be the best time to do it. Right? That's how I look at stuff anyway.
I love that you said that. I met a gentleman by the name of Adam Corner who owns Carbless. Maybe you've met Adam, heard of him. But they built a brand, in Wisconsin. Then they went to Minnesota and they built about a $70 million business. I think they're in 19 states now, but he did it one account at a time, and he said to this younger guy, brought it to MBWA last year. He goes, "Where you at?" And the guy says, "I'm in New Jersey." And he goes, "Well, okay, well, how many accounts are you in New Jersey?" He says, 150. And then Adam says, "Well, what's your total opportunity in the state of New Jersey?" Said 1,000. And then Adam stopped and looked at Nico and said, "Why are you here?"
Right.
Because you haven't hit your opportunity in New Jersey yet. So why are you
Right,
looking to
right.
expand? And then he added, and it's kind of, as you said, he's like, you can go send the truck to Florida, but what are you gonna do next year on your P&L because you haven't established your account base?
Right.
So many
Right. It
people.
reminds me of the music business. Like, one of the things we used to say is that, you know, how are you gonna be a hit? Let's just say you're based in Miami, like I was. How are you gonna be a hit in California when you're not even a hit in Miami? Like, if your own people don't even like it, right? So you're not on the radio station in your own city, but yet you want, Kansas City to put you on the radio, right? So it's like, you gotta take care of home first, right? So that's kinda, the philosophy.
That's like proof of concept. I always talk about it as, you got to prove that your brand is working, right? I mean, obviously, you didn't wake up one day and go get 5 states. You've proven your brand and where you started, right?
Right, and even as we add additional states now, home is always gonna be home. So we're gonna continue, to build this market where we don't wanna be in, 60% of the universe. We wanna be in 100% of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And then as we look at these other markets, we put a growth pattern. So like Georgia, we're in Georgia,
Yeah.
but we didn't go in and say, "Okay, we wanna be all over Georgia." We look at where we think our, strategic advantages are, and that's Atlanta.
Yeah.
So let's build Atlanta, right? And
Yeah.
that's where the bulk of the Georgia is. And let's get that and then start to, focus on other parts of Georgia as we grow out. So that's just our approach to it.
Yeah, so let me ask a couple questions with the remaining 15 minutes. So we ask everybody this question. It's not a hard one, but we're always curious what founders have to say about it. What is the difference between success and failure?
Preparation, right? So I got two nephews in the NFL right now. And I tell them, I say, and I tell anyone, I was just speaking at Breakthroughs luncheon today for Black History Month, and I was the only speaker actually. And one of the things that I've lived my whole life by, success is when opportunity meets preparation. And so, if you're prepared, meaning you thought it through to the best you can, to the best of your ability, we don't always have all the answers, but understanding, that it's not everything's going to be what you thought it was going to be, and you got to be prepared for that. And that's my thing, the difference between success and failure. And then the other thing is having the right relationships. That's very important, right? And maintaining those relationships to help you scale and to grow your company or your brand, whatever it is. So that's my thoughts on it, and kind of how I.
Where'd you learn that?
Well, it really came from, just being a entrepreneur like my whole life and having to, like, I don't know if you remember that gas station out there by I-5 at Bowling Green, but, when you're on scholarship, like back then, you weren't allowed to work. And
Is that on
so,
the way to Burger King out there or something?
yeah, right past that, so you got there and you're either going to Findlay or you're going to Toledo, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
so I had a job there and I got fired for no reason. Um, but Bowling Green had a great business school, and so I go back. I tell my professor what happened, and he was like, "Just happened to be a human resources class," and he's like, "Oh no, we're not taking that." And so he helped me, and we filed a complaint, won, and I've never had a job working for anybody since then, right? So it was like you just gotta be prepared and everything that glitters isn't gold. So you're gonna have some setbacks, you're gonna have some failures, but as long as your wins are greater than your losses, you're always gonna come out on the right side.
God, reminds me, I always tell people this story. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan or if you ever watched the show.
I've seen a few, yeah.
I always reference it's the Even Steven episode, and it's like you lose a 20 and gain a 20, and it just seems like that's just life in general. It's like, okay, I lost a 20, but then you just keep on going. Oh, there's another 20. So it's like for me, it's persistence and not giving up, right? I grew up as a corporate guy. I got out of school, got a job with Gallo, worked my way up into Gallo, to Diageo, Coca-Cola, worked for everybody until I wasn't working for anybody anymore and I had to work for myself. So for me,
Right.
I didn't become an entrepreneur because I wanted to. I became an entrepreneur because I had to.
There
But
you
if
go.
I could tell my younger self this, I wish I would have done it a long time ago. So hats off to you that you've always been an entrepreneur, right? Because so many of us, we fall for the 15th and 30th. And I'm not saying don't go work for someone because most of
Right,
the people in
right.
the world do work for someone, right? They want the paycheck and the benefits. But I really
Because
think,
in entrepreneurship world, and you have to have thick skin, man, like because the paychecks ain't coming, right? There's many, 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 many weeks, without getting paid. So, you just gotta have tough skin, bro. I feel you on that one.
Yeah, did your being an athlete, did that help you, learn persistence? I mean, you're at the highest level, a D1 athlete, played pro football. Did that prepare you for this?
I mean, sports in general prepares you because you gotta have a game plan
Yeah,
going in and, it doesn't always work, right? Things happen. It's like you prepare the best you can. You're watching film like hours and hours and hours a day and you're preparing. Like I said, it comes back to success is when opportunity meets preparation. So you could be prepared as you want to, but maybe it wasn't the right opportunity. Right,
yeah,
for you that day. There's teams that not saying they were more prepared than you, but they may have had some better opportunities that particular day. So, yeah, I think that sports gives you a discipline, prepare for life. I you know, coach in high school is like, we tell the guys like, football is just a tool, right? And you use it for what it is. And, to get you to where you think you want to get to. But ultimately, there's a lot of guys that aren't gonna make it. Guys that aren't gonna make it to college guys that aren't gonna make it in the pros, right? And so you gotta play the game for more than just the sport. Right, and so we teach them, like, use football to help you be a better father, a better friend, a better dad, a better son, right? And
yeah.
take that from it because that's gonna last you for the rest of your life. Sports there's a start and there's an end.
Yeah, I never played at the highest levels. I played football and tennis, but the last time I played football was my senior year in high school, right? And someone says you'll never put the pads on again, but I mean, I learned brotherhood is really what I learned from it, is just the respect for the people that you are with. I mean, you're in the fight, and I always loved the brotherhood of it. That those were my brothers. Didn't care where they
Right.
came from, their background. Didn't they were I didn't care. That at that time, I would do anything for them, and that's what it taught me: loyalty
Yeah.
and brotherhood.
And, no, I agree with you on that. And, I always tell people, like, high school is the best time of your life until you go to college. Then that becomes the best time of your life, right? And so most of my close friends are people that I went to college with,
Yeah,
but we've adopted that philosophy in our company, and we're no big company by any stretch of the imagination,
yeah,
right? We have about 11 or 12 of us.
yeah,
And, it's like I tell them, treat these brands like they're your own because they are, right? Because we're all part of one family, right? It doesn't matter who signs the checks. It doesn't matter, what social media says because it's a team philosophy.
yeah.
And, you could have the best quarterback in the world, but if you don't have good receivers or good linemen or good running back or a good defense
Well,
or whatever
you
it may
guys
be,
made McClure look good, right?
man, he was the shit, bro. He was he was the real deal, man. Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's funny. All right, so anything that didn't cover today that you wanna share with, people that are listening that you'd wanna just convey about your company? And then 2 is how do they find you?
So, I mean, you can find this on, LinkedIn. Most the quickest way people find us is like social media,
Okay,
right? Or so and just Googling us. So, our websites are fortmosewhiskey.com,
okay,
FORT whiskey.com, victorgeorgevodka.com, and then on social media, we're at Victor George, or no, I'm sorry, at VG Vodka and at Fort Mose Whiskey. So those are the quickest ways to find us. My personal is at I am Victor George. But the one thing I would like to say, and this is like a message that we're driving home this year, is that we're still here. And with all the shakeups going on in the industry, with much, much, much larger companies, we're very proud of the fact that we're still here. Even the new companies been here since 2019, through COVID, through down industries,
I think
and we're still
Stoli is
growing.
out, aren't they? Like, Stoli's gone.
I mean, it's public information, right? I don't really talk about other companies or brands, but you know, there's a lot going on, but we're still growing, we're still expanding, we're still having fun, it's still exciting. And that's our message. If I had to say anything, is that we're still here. So for anybody that's in this industry or getting into it, perseverance, just hang in there, have a well thought out plan and enjoy what you do, man. That's what I do more than anything.
Do
I
you
get down with this. I'm going to happy hour, and and that's what I like to do.
Yeah, so, I mean, so do you get out in the market and, work your brand?
I'm in the market. I'll be in next Friday. I'm in Alexandria, Virginia. Saturday, I'm there, and then I go to DC. Next week, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta. So I love getting out, meeting people, telling the story, and just growing the brand. So that's what we like to do. So yes, I'm out there, man.
That's a really important message because there's so many people, like, I think we talked about earlier, it's like, "Yeah, I'm very successful, I'll invest in this brand, but then I won't work the brand," but you're working it. I mean, how many days, are you on the road, like, 50% of the time?
I mean, probably a little bit more than that. It's just, but it's like it's what I like to do. So a lot of people have these hobbies and like to take a lot of vacations. I probably should take more.
Yeah,
When I do, I enjoy it because it's not it's when I'm out meeting people and telling stories about the brand and different things, it's not really work to me. And if you remember early on, I said a lot of it is about relationships. So
right.
now you're building these new relationships, and that's what I probably enjoy more than anything because some of those people that you meet out there, they actually become friends, and that's really cool.
That is
It's fun,
awesome.
man.
That
Yeah,
is
just like I
awesome.
met you. That was cool. And I didn't know you and Stacy knew each other for all those years, but you connected right away when you saw each other, right? So that's what to
It's
me,
all
that's what's
about who you
important.
know and the network, and now that you're went to Bowling Green, you're forever my friend, man, you're in the band of brothers.
There you go, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny. People like always think Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I was like, "Were you talking about Bowling Green, Kentucky, or where the Corvette is, or Bowling Green, Ohio?" And I always say
Right.
BCSU. Falcons, man. Freddie and Frida Falcon, man.
You know what's funny? Like, I know we're coming to the end, but I um I was in a little restaurant here, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. About no, probably 6, maybe longer than that, maybe 8 years ago, having a drink, having something to eat for lunch. This guy looks at me, he said, "Did you go to Bowling Green?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Are you Victor Harvey?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Hey, man, I used to watch you play, blah, blah, blah." And he says, "I was Freddie the Falcon." I was like, "Outta here." Right? He's like, "My girlfriend was Frida." I started laughing, man. I was like, "Are you serious, bro?" I said, "It was funny, man."
You ever play the drinking game where it's like, you use like Freddie Falcon, Fred Flintstone. If you get the first letter and the last letter of the name, it was like a beer drinking name. But I always like Freddie Falcon, Frida Falcon. We'd burn through them at the beginning of it and just keep on trying to go with the it's a name game or whatever.
No,
But
that was you fraternity guys. We didn't do that.
I gotta ask you actually before we get off. So I think it was my sophomore year or my junior year. Maybe it was my junior year, but it was I can't remember his name. He had blonde hair, kind of about 5'10". He was your point guard at Bowling Green. He rushed our fraternity, and I was gonna be his big brother, but then he's like, "Man, I gotta go play basketball. I don't have time to do this." I think
What
he
you talking about? What year?
it would probably be, probably either 85 or 86.
Probably Scott.
Scott, that's his name, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Cleveland.
Yes, he was my little brother for, like, a short period of time, but he
Yeah.
decided, "I gotta go play basketball." Was he a pretty good ball player, or
He was very good. I mean, he was undersized, but yeah, he was great basketball. Not great,
Yeah.
but he was good.
Yeah, he was my
Yeah.
I guess he's still I could still I'd love to say hello to him if you know where he's at, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
it
I've
was,
never really
he
talked
rushed
to
us,
him.
we accepted him into the fraternity, but I'm sure that maybe the coach talked to him or whatever, because my daughters were, D1, runners.
Okay.
They didn't have any time to do anything else but run and sleep and study.
Right. Yeah. It's tough, man, but, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's life. It's amazing how small the world is when you think about it, Victor. I mean, you and I went to the same school basically at the same
at
time.
the same time, right?
Right. I'm
And
sure we
it
have, what's that?
yeah. We probably got mutual friends and, maybe party together, hung out, drank together. Because remember when you got there and when I got there, you only had to be 18 to go to the
Oh,
bars,
yeah.
right? So, we were in the bars early.
Who was your ki who I can't remember his name either, but I used to hang out with him. He was your kicker. And I would go to, like, a lot of football parties actually, because 'cause he'd always have me. I think he went in the NFL for a brief period too, but he was, I don't know if he's I think he was your punter.
Oh, okay. I gotta remember who that was, the year that was, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you burn through punters. I mean, I don't know, they're
Right.
it just depends. Well, look, it was great. I'll ask you to remain on the line. Everybody that joined us today, thank you for joining Victor and myself. fellow Bowling Green grads, Bowling Green State University, the true Bowling Green, by
Hey,
the
we
way.
got Eddie George over there as the head coach now.
Yeah. And I always tell people this, I was there in '84, national hockey champions too. People are like, "Hockey?" I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Yeah, won the
Yeah, I
national
remember
hockey
that, yeah.
championship." Yeah, and then, who was the, half miler, what was his name? God, he was a great half miler, gold medal miler, but,
I can't remember his name either, yeah.
yeah, but, great, I mean, the coldest place on earth, but, definitely great business school. I ended up going into IPCO, communications with an emphasis in marketing, so, business is a tough school, man. So if you did that, congratulations, by the
Yeah,
way. It's one of the toughest business schools in America, quite frankly,
yeah,
so,
it wasn't easy, that's for sure.
yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
I'm gonna hit stop, and then, we'll just remain on the line.
Alright, Sam.
See you, everybody.
Alright, appreciate you.